Christmas Eve came quietly to the desert, but quiet never meant safe. The moon hung low, pale and distant, casting a thin silver wash across the jagged ridgeline, where 11 Navy SEALs lay pinned behind broken stone and burnt-out vehicles. The air smelled of dust, metal, and old smoke. Somewhere far off, a call to prayer echoed faintly, carried on the wind like a reminder that the world kept moving, even as these men waited for death. Lieutenant Mara Vale lay flat against the cold earth, her cheek pressed into grit, her rifle cradled but unused. She was the only woman in the unit, and the only one not wounded, yet. Her knuckles were white as she listened to the radio crackle against her ear. Extraction is canceled. The words cut deeper than any bullet. She lifted her head slightly, eyes flashing toward the others. One man had a leg shredded by shrapnel. Another bled from the shoulder, pale and shivering. A third hadn't spoken in 15 minutes, his breath shallow, fogging weakly in the cold night air. "Say again," Mara said into the mic, her voice steady though her heart slammed against her ribs, static. Then the calm, distant tone of command. "Mission parameters have changed. Enemy movement has increased. Air support is grounded. You are to hold position until further notice." "Until when?" she demanded without a pause. "Too long. There will be no further notice," came the reply. "We cannot risk additional assets. This is a direct order. Stand down." Mara closed her eyes for half a second. Abandoned. On Christmas Eve, she looked at the men, her men. Men who had followed orders without question. Men who had bled beside her. Men who trusted that someone, somewhere, would never leave them behind. And a low rumble echoed in the distance. Enemy trucks repositioning. The night was tightening around them. "Lieutenant," whispered Chief Rowan Hale, his beard matted with blood. "We're not making it till morning." Mara reached him, gripping his shoulder. "We are," she said firmly. "All of us." She keyed the radio again. "Command, this is Viper 1-5. I am requesting emergency override authorization." "Denied," came the immediate response. "You are ordered to remain in place." Mara swallowed hard. Every rule she'd ever learned screamed in her head. Orders were orders. Chain of command was sacred. But so was the code. N01 left behind. She clicked the radio off. Around her, the men watched silently. No one asked what she would do. They already knew. Mara Vale had never been the loudest, never the one to boast. During training, they'd underestimated her, some openly, some quietly. She'd let them. She believed in letting results speak. Now results were the only thing that mattered. She stood. Enemy fire cracked overhead almost instantly. She dropped back down, scanning the terrain, calculating angles, distances, timing. There was one option, an old dirt airstrip 6 kilometers east. Too exposed, too risky, and completely unauthorized. Mara pulled out a folded map, smoothing it against her thigh. "We move," she said. "In 15 minutes. Silent. We carry who we can. We don't leave anyone. Not alive. Not dead." No one argued. Chief Hale smiled weakly. "Hell of a Christmas gift, Lieutenant." She met his eyes. "I'm getting you home." As they prepared, Mara took one last look at the dark sky above. Somewhere, families were lighting trees, opening gifts, believing in miracles. Tonight, she would become one if they moved just after midnight. The first steps were agony. Every sound felt too loud. Every shadow seemed to breathe. Enemy patrols swept the valley like slow-moving predators. Twice they froze as headlights passed, so close Mara could see the dust on the windshields. She took point, guiding them through dry ravines and abandoned compounds, lifting, dragging, and sometimes carrying wounded men herself. Her muscles screamed. Her lungs burned. Blood soaked her gloves, some hers, some not. Halfway through, the worst happened. An explosion rocked the ground behind them. "Contact," someone hissed. Gunfire erupted. Tracers stitched the darkness. Mara shoved the nearest SEAL into cover, returning fire with controlled bursts. They were running out of time. She keyed her radio again, switching frequencies. "Any friendly asset in range? This is Viper 1-5. We are 11 strong, wounded, moving east. If anyone hears this, Christmas Eve miracle requested. Static, then, faint but unmistakable, Viper 1-5, say again. Mara's breath caught. This is Captain Elias Grant, the voice continued. Air Cavalry. We were grounded, but I'm hearing you loud and clear. Mara closed her eyes, fighting tears. We need a bird, she said. Now. Silence stretched. Then, I'm defying orders, Grant said simply. Pop smoke at the airstrip. I'll be there in 10. Mara laughed, a sharp, breathless sound, as enemy rounds chewed into the dirt around her. You better not be late, she said. They pushed harder than they thought possible. By the time they reached the strip, smoke rising, enemy forces were closing fast. The wounded were barely conscious. Mara stood at the edge, rifle raised, alone between her team and the darkness. The sound of rotors thundered in like judgment. The helicopter dropped low, guns blazing, washing the ground with fire. Mara waved them in, lifting one last seal onto the ramp before leaping aboard herself. The bird lifted. Rounds tore through the air where they'd been seconds before. They were alive, against all odds, against all orders. Before part 2, if you're enjoying this powerful true-style military story, Backhand Index pointing right, subscribe to our channel, Her Brave Stripes, for more unforgettable courage stories. Speech balloon and tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from? The helicopter touched down hard, skids scraping frozen dirt as if the earth itself resisted letting them go. The rotors kept screaming, whipping sand and debris into a violent halo. Medics rushed in before the engines even slowed, their movements sharp, trained, urgent. Easy, easy, watch the leg. Pressure here, don't let go. Mara Vale didn't move from the ramp at first. She stood there, half-turned toward the desert they'd escaped, rifle still hanging from her shoulder, as if expecting the night to reach up and drag them back. Only when the last wounded SEAL was lifted onto a stretcher did she step down. Her boots hit the ground. Solid. Real. They were out. For the first time since the order came down, her chest loosened enough for a full breath. It came out shaky. Captain Elias Grant jumped down behind her, helmet under his arm, face streaked with sweat and dust. Base commander's already asking questions, he said quietly. He wants you in a debrief as soon as medical clears you. Mara nodded. Figures. Grant studied her, eyes lingering on the blood dried along her sleeves. You good? She looked at her hands, flexed them. They shook slightly. I will be. He gave a short nod. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. Mara didn't answer. She watched as the stretchers disappeared into the medical tent. 11 men. Alive. That was the only measure that mattered. Inside the tent, the smell of antiseptic replaced smoke and dust. Christmas music played softly from an old radio near the supply table. Somehow cheerful, somehow cruel. A medic tried to guide Mara to a cot. Lieutenant, you need to— I'm fine, Mara said, sharper than intended. The medic hesitated, then nodded. He'd seen that look before. The look of someone still holding the line inside their head. She paced instead, boots echoing softly. Every few steps, someone called out a name she recognized. Every time, her shoulders tensed until she heard the answer. Stable. Breathing on his own. Surgery in 10. Each word was a weight lifted. Chief Rowan Hale lay on a bed near the back, leg immobilized, face gray but alert. When he saw her, he grinned, teeth white against his beard. Well, I'll be damned, he rasped. You look like hell. Mara let out a breath that almost became a laugh. She stepped closer. You're supposed to be unconscious. Didn't want to miss Christmas, he said. Figured I owed you that. She swallowed, nodding. You scare me back there. Yeah, he admitted softly. Me too. They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of medical equipment filling the space. You know, Hale said, eyes fixed on the ceiling. I've been doing this a long time. Seen good officers. Great ones. And a lot who talk about the code like it's a slogan. He turned his head to look at her. Tonight, you lived it. Mara shook her head. I just did my job. Hade similit faintly. No, you did more. And you're going to pay for it. She didn't deny that. The debrief room was cold and bright, intentionally uncomfortable. 2 flags stood in opposite corners. A digital clock on the wall ticked loudly. Each second an accusation. Point three officers waited when Mara entered. No introductions. No smiles. Lieutenant Mara Vale, the center officer said. Seat. She did. Let's be clear, another began. You were given a direct order to hold position. Yes, sir. You disobeyed. Yes, sir. You initiated unauthorized movement, contacted off-grid assets, and coordinated an extraction that had been explicitly denied. Yes, sir. The first officer leaned forward. Why? Mara met his gaze without hesitation. Because 11 SEALs were going to die. Silence followed. Acceptable losses are part of war, the officer said flatly. Not abandoned ones, Mara replied. A sharp intake of breath came from the third officer. The first's jaw tightened. You're not here to debate doctrine, he said. You're here to explain your actions. I am, she said calmly, and I stand by them. They exchanged looks. Captain Grant also defied orders, the third officer said. At your request. Mara straightened. He responded to a distress call. That responsibility is mine. The first officer studied her for a long time. You understand that this could end your career. Yes, sir. And you'd still do it? Mara didn't hesitate. Yes, sir. Another long pause. Finally, the officer leaned back. Dismissed. For now. She stood, saluted, and turned to leave. As her hand reached the door, the third officer spoke. Lieutenant. She stopped. 11 families are celebrating Christmas today because of you. Mara nodded once. Then she walked out. Night fell again, softer this time. The base lights glowed warm against the dark. Somewhere, laughter drifted from a mess hall. Somewhere else, a man cried quietly into a phone. Mara stood alone near the perimeter fence, staring at the stars. She thought of her own family, of holidays spent apart, of the cost everyone paid in different ways. Footsteps approached. Captain Grant joined her, handing her a steaming cup of coffee. Figured you'd be out here, he said. Figured I'd need this, she replied, taking it. They stood in companionable silence. They grounded me, Grant said finally. Pending review. Mara's jaw tightened. I am sorry. He shrugged. Worth it. She glanced at him. You don't even know them. I know the code, he said simply that a notification pinged on Mara's radio. She checked it. Medical update. All 11 alive. 2 critical improving. 1 out of surgery. She closed her eyes, letting the cold air fill her lungs. Grant smiled. Merry Christmas, Lieutenant. Merry Christmas, she echoed. Morning came slowly. Pale light crept over the horizon, washing the base in gold. Christmas Day. Mara was summoned again, this time to a smaller office. Only one officer waited. Older, eyes tired, expression unreadable. Sit, he said. She did. I won't sugarcoat this, he began. What you did put lives at risk. Yes, sir. And it saved lives, he continued. 11 of them. He slid a file across the desk. Official report will state extraction was delayed due to enemy movement, but ultimately executed under emergent conditions. Mara looked up. You'll receive a formal reprimand, he said. And a commendation. She frowned. That doesn't make sense. He gave a thin smile. Neither does war. He paused. You won't be promoted this cycle. I understand. But, he added, you'll still be wearing the uniform. Relief washed through her, quiet but powerful. Thank you, sir. He nodded. Get some rest, Lieutenant. You earned it. Mara returned to the medical tent later that day. The mood had shifted. Lighter. Hopeful Point, one of the younger SEALs, barely awake, smiled weakly when he saw her. Hey, Lieutenant, he murmured. You really stole a helicopter for us? She smirked. Borrowed. He chuckled, then winced. Best Christmas ever. She laughed softly, then moved on. Chief Hale caught her sleeve as she passed. Promise me something, he said. What? Don't ever change. Mara squeezed his hand. I won't. Outside, snow began to fall. Unexpected, light, almost unreal. The desert received it quietly, as if honoring the moment. Mara watched the flakes melt on her gloves. Point 11 men would go home. Point 11 stories would be told. And one decision, made on Christmas Eve, would echo longer than any order ever could.